It's just past 3 a.m. in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. The resort town is alive, but quieter now than it was just a few hours before. The thumping of music from bars has faded. The sound of laughter, clinking glasses, and shouts from spring breakers has mostly died down. All that remains is the steady pulse of the ocean. On this night, thousands of college students from across the United States have flocked here for spring break, one of the busiest weeks here in Punta Cana. Among them is a group of 6 women, classmates from the University of Pittsburgh, who came here for one reason: to escape the stress of college life and celebrate together. One of them was 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki, a sophomore just beginning to carve her path in life. Full of dreams, full of promises. That night, she walked out of the resort's main bar with her friends. Surveillance cameras caught her making her way toward the beach. She was laughing. She was alive. And it would be the last time anyone saw her.
We've learned new details about that 20-year-old college student who disappeared during spring break. Now surveillance video shows her leaving a hotel in the Dominican Republic with 3 other people.
By sunrise, Sudiksha had vanished. No trace, no body, no explanation. What began as a week of fun in paradise became an international mystery. A case that today remains unsolved, with more questions than answers. This is not just a story of a missing college student. It's the story of unanswered questions, clashing investigations, and a family searching desperately for the truth. Today, we dive into everything we know and don't know about what happened in those early hours on March 6th. To understand why this case has drawn so much attention, we first need to know who Sudiksha was. Born December 13th, 2004 in India, Sudiksha moved to the United States as a child. She grew up in Loudoun County, Virginia, a growing suburb outside Washington, D.C., where her family built a new life. Friends remember her as quiet at first, but always kind. Someone who would open up with a smile and had a way of making you feel included. She was the kind of person who pushed herself to succeed. Teachers described her as focused and disciplined. At just 20 years old, she was already a permanent U.S. resident and had set her sights on a bright future. By 2025, she was in her second year at the University of Pittsburgh. Like many students, she faced the pressure of academics, deadlines, and figuring out her next steps. But she was thriving. Her professors saw potential. Her friends saw ambition. To her family, she was a daughter who made them proud. Spring break offered something she rarely gave herself: a chance to relax. A chance to step away from the grind of school. With 5 of her female classmates, she booked a trip to Punta Cana. Their destination? The Hotel Rio Republica, a sprawling, all-inclusive resort famous for its pools, its beachside parties, and the kind of nightlife that attracts thousands of college students every March. For many, this is paradise. Turquoise waters, white sand beaches, endless buffets, drinks flowing all night. But paradise can be deceptive. Punta Cana is no stranger to danger. Its waters, as beautiful as they appear, are strong. Rip currents are common. Tourists, often intoxicated, underestimate the ocean. And every spring, headlines remind us that this Caribbean hotspot, while breathtaking, is not without risk. For Sudiksha, this trip was supposed to be an escape, a celebration of friendship, youth, and freedom. She had no way of knowing it would be her last. To understand what happened to Sudiksha, it's important to understand where she was. Punta Cana isn't just a vacation spot. It's one of the most popular international spring break destinations for U.S. college students. Every March, tens of thousands of young people descend on the Dominican Republic. Resorts like the Hotel Rio Republica promise everything: open bars, all-night music, sprawling pools, and access to beaches that stretch for miles. The draw is obvious. For one flat fee, students can eat, drink, and party without limits. For many, it's a once-in-a-lifetime memory, but with that reputation comes risk. The ocean in Punta Cana is as dangerous as it is beautiful. Strong rip currents have been documented for decades. Local authorities often post red flags warning swimmers to stay out. But late at night, when students wander to the shoreline, those warnings can be missed or ignored. In recent years, multiple tourists have drowned after underestimating the currents. Others have gone missing under mysterious circumstances. These incidents rarely make international headlines, but they paint a sobering picture. Paradise isn't always safe. It's against this backdrop that Sudiksha and her friends spent the night of March 5th leading to March 6th, a night that began with fun and laughter and ended in tragedy. According to surveillance footage and eyewitness accounts, the evening started at the resort's main bar. Like hundreds of other students that night, Sudiksha and her classmates gathered there to drink and dance. Cameras later show them leaving together around 4:15 a.m.
This morning, new security camera video capturing the last known movements of missing University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Konanki. In this footage taken at the Punta Cana resort where she was staying, Konaki is seen headed to the beach with friends around 4 a.m. after visiting a nightclub in their hotel. Roughly 2 hours later, the rest of the group seen walking back to their rooms without Konaki.
6 young women, all heading toward the beach. But they weren't alone. Walking with them was another spring breaker, 22-year-old Joshua Reba. Reba wasn't part of their original group of 6. Reports suggest he had connected with them during their stay at the resort. That night, cameras caught him walking arm in arm with Sudiksha, chatting casually as the group made their way down to the sand. For a while, the group stayed together on the shoreline. They laughed, talked, and enjoyed the ocean breeze. But as the hours dragged on, fatigue set in. By around 5 a.m., most of the group had decided to head back to their rooms. One by one, the friends departed. Eventually, only 2 people remained, Sudiksha and Reba. And from this moment forward, the story became far more complicated. By 5 a.m., the group of 6 women had all gone back to their hotel rooms. The only ones left on the beach were Sudiksha Konanki and Joshua Reba. From this point on, our understanding of events comes almost entirely from Reba's account.
He says he and a friend introduced themselves to Konaki and her girlfriends at a bar where the group drank pink tequila shots, then went to the beach in the early morning hours. He said 2 of Konaki's friends sat on beach chairs, but he says he and Konaki waded into the ocean, telling investigators, quote, "We were in waist-deep water, talking and kissing a little. Next," he said, "a big wave came and hit us both, and with the rising water, it swept us out to sea." The investigator asking, "What happened next?" "As soon as we were able to surface, we tried to call for help, but there was no one there," said the young man.
In the first interview, Reba claimed that while standing by the shoreline, a strong wave suddenly hit them. Both were pulled under. He told police that he managed to drag Sudiksha back to the shallow water, that she was standing again in knee-deep surf. But then he became violently ill, choking and vomiting seawater. And in that moment, he says she disappeared. But in later interviews, Reba's story shifted. At one point, he said he walked away from the shoreline. In another, he claimed he lost sight of her in the waves. The inconsistencies grew, and with them, suspicion. What never changed was the ending. He insisted that when he looked up, Sudiksha was gone. No one else on the beach reported seeing her. No security camera captured her final steps. The only known witness to Sudiksha's disappearance is the man who walked beside her that night.
Tonight, we're getting a look at the last known images of the Pitt student who disappeared while on spring break in the Dominican Republic. A Dominican media outlet called Sin News obtained this video that supposedly shows 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki with her friends and 2 other men walking to the beach in Punta Cana early Thursday morning. She was reported missing later that day.
Hours passed. Resort surveillance cameras captured Reba still on the beach, this time alone. At one point, he appeared to sit in a chair, slumped over, before eventually falling asleep. It wasn't until nearly 9 a.m. that he left the shoreline. By then, Sudiksha's absence had become undeniable. Her friends searched, hotel staff were notified, and within hours, investigators arrived on the scene. On one of the lounge chairs, authorities found Sudiksha's belongings, her shoes, her personal items, left neatly behind. But there was no sign of a struggle, no indication of where she had gone. It was as though she vanished into thin air. When authorities were alerted that a young woman had vanished, the response was immediate. By mid-morning on March 6, the search for Sudiksha Konanki was underway. Investigators knew time was critical. If she had been swept out by sea, every passing hour reduced the chance of survival. Teams deployed across land, sea, and air. Dogs combed the sand. Divers swept the waters near the beach. Drones buzzed overhead, capturing aerial views of the coastline. Helicopters circled from above, hoping to spot any trace of movement in the waves. But nothing turned up. No footprints leading away from the scene, no body in the water, no piece of clothing drifting ashore. For investigators, it was as though Sudiksha had disappeared into the night itself. Investigators began reconstructing the timeline. They interviewed Sudiksha's 5 classmates. They reviewed security footage. They questioned the resort staff. Again and again, the same fact emerged. After 5 a.m., the only person who could account for her was Joshua Reba.
According to the video evidence there, it shows Konaki going to the beach in the early morning hours of March 6th, surrounded by her friends that she had traveled here to Punta Cana with. Then it shows her later arm in arm with a young man that she had met on this trip, a fellow American who is not part of her original group. The group of friends go back to the hotel, but Konaki and the other gentleman did not. It's later that about 9 a.m., just before 9 a.m. on March 6th, he is seen returning to the hotel without her. And there is the big question.
From 5 a.m. until nearly 9, the only confirmed movement was from Reba. First with her, then alone. Investigators pressed him for answers. His story shifted, but he insisted she was lost to the ocean. As word of Sudiksha's disappearance spread, social media fueled the chaos. A video began circulating online, shared thousands of times, claiming to show her drowning. The footage was harrowing, a young woman thrashing in the waves, crying for help. But within days, investigators confirmed the video was fake. It wasn't Sudiksha. It wasn't even in the Dominican Republic. It was an unrelated clip from Russia, years old. Yet the damage was done. For her family, it was torture, seeing strangers exploit their daughter's disappearance for clicks. While rumors spread online, her loved ones were left in agony. Every hour without answers deepened the pain. And as searches dragged on, authorities faced another problem: a lack of evidence. There were no witnesses beyond Reba, no conclusive proof of drowning, and nobody to confirm it. For the investigators on ground, this was quickly becoming not just a search, but a mystery.
Did she drown?
Well, we don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's never been confirmed that she drowned. It's highly suspected that she did, but we don't really know. That's why, from the very beginning of this, we wanted to make sure that we did everything in our power to try to get to the bottom of it. And there's still some information out there that we don't have yet. And until we get that and feel comfortable with that time, we can't really make that determination anyway. That's something that's got to be done by the Dominican authorities. But I think it's important that we don't let go, that we do everything in our power to make sure that we follow this thing all the way to the end.
With no body recovered and no hard evidence of foul play, Dominican authorities faced a difficult decision. Initially, they detained Joshua Reba. His passport was confiscated, and he underwent multiple rounds of questioning. For a brief moment, it seemed officials might file charges, at least negligence. But within days, his legal team filed a writ of habeas corpus, and the Dominican courts agreed. Reba was released. Soon after, he was issued an emergency passport, And just like that, he left the Dominican Republic. To Sudika's family back in Virginia, this decision was devastating. Their daughter was missing, and the only known witness had been allowed to leave the country. Meanwhile, U.S. authorities attempted to step in. Loudoun County Sheriff's investigators pushed for cooperation. They wanted access to phone records, expanded surveillance footage, and testimony. But Dominican officials cited their own laws. Without a body, their working theory leaned toward drowning, an accidental death. Dominican law made the case even more complex. To declare a person legally dead, a body must be recovered. Otherwise, families must wait years, sometimes decades, before a court will consider a declaration of legal absence. This left the Konaki family in limbo, grieving without closure, desperate for answers. Their frustration grew when they learned investigators had not shared all the evidence with U.S. counterparts. Key phone recordings remained sealed, surveillance footage was not fully released, and inconsistencies in Reba's statement went largely unchallenged. How could an investigation reach a conclusion of drowning without proof? How could the only witness leave so quickly? And why were authorities so reluctant to share information? For Sudiksha's loved ones, the lack of clarity wasn't just frustrating, it was unbearable. As investigators closed their initial search, a troubling reality remained. No body had been recovered, no forensic evidence found, and the only account of Sudiksha's final moments came from one man, Joshua Reba. His story was not consistent. In one version, he claimed she walked along the shoreline. In another, he said she was standing in shallow water while he turned away. At times, he insisted he saw her after the wave hit. At others, he suggested she vanished instantly. Investigators noted the contradictions, but no charges were filed. Why didn't he immediately call for help? Why didn't he alert resort staff? Why did he sleep on a chair instead of raising the alarm? And why did his accounts keep changing? With no answers, the mystery only deepens. Was Sudiksha swept away by the ocean? Was there foul play? Or is there another explanation that has yet to come to light? For Sudiksha's family, this isn't an investigation. It's heartbreak. They traveled to the Dominican Republic themselves, desperate for answers. They prayed for her safe return. And when the search produced nothing, they begged for the truth. Her parents have since petitioned for her to be declared legally dead, not because they want to give up hope, but because they need closure.
These parents say they felt the version of events that investigators have honed in on, that the ocean pulled Sudiksha in and she drowned, is, in fact, what they believe happened.
We were going through too much pain all these days, and we were saddened, and we were not able to believe this.
Yet under Dominican law, that process may take years. Until then, they remain in limbo, grieving without resolution. Her classmates too carry the weight of that night. What began as a spring break trip meant for fun will forever haunt them. Some have spoken about the trauma of losing a friend in such a sudden and mysterious way. Others remain silent, unable to relive the pain. To those who knew her, Sudiksha is not just a headline. She is a daughter, a friend, a woman whose future was stolen. And that is what makes this case so devastating. The disappearance of Sudiksha Konanki remains unsolved. No body, no proof of drowning, no conclusive evidence of foul play. Just a young woman gone, a family left behind with questions that may never be answered. For now, her case stands as a reminder of how quickly joy can turn into tragedy, how fragile life can be, and how even in the most beautiful places on earth, danger can hide in plain sight. This is the story of Sudiksha Konanki. May her memory never fade. May her truth one day be found. This case is just one of many where answers seem frozen in uncertainty. If you found this story meaningful, make sure you follow the Icy Bridge Files